a video of beatboxing for the first time. What I saw in that video seemed humanly impossible to me. The different sounds, rhythms, and even melodies that these people were creating with nothing but their bodies seemed unthinkable. Today, I'm going to teach you a little bit about beatboxing, and I'm also going to share with you my story on how I accumulated this talent. And I hope that it inspires you to do something like this. So now, what is beatboxing? Beatboxing is a form of vocal percussion where one or many people use their nose, throat, mouth, and lungs to make sounds that resemble a drum kit, or in some cases not. So I categorize beatboxing into 3 different categories, and those categories are acoustic, dubstep, and speed. Acoustic beatboxing is supposed to sound a lot like a drum kit. So I'm going to show you a few sounds that would sound like a drum kit. The first sound is called a snare. Now I do 3 different types of snare sounds. The first one is a regular PS snare, because it sounds like I'm saying pss. But if I shorten that, it sounds like this. The next snare is called a K snare. It's closer to a clicking sound. And the third one is called an open snare. So now the next sound that you would normally hear is called a kick drum or a bass drum. It's that really low. The third sound that I'm going to show you is called a hi-hat. It's a TS sound. So when you add these 3 sounds together, you can get some really cool beats like this. So not only with the beatboxing do you use your mouth, but you also use your throat, which you've probably heard me do in the beginning when I introduced myself. If you're skilled enough, you can use your throat to add a bass line to what you're beatboxing. So I'm going to show you that. If you have a beat like this, you can add a bass line like this. Category of beatboxing, which is my personal favorite, is called dubstep. Now dubstep originated from the southern part of London in the 1990s. These sounds that I'm about to show you don't necessarily have names because I created some of them, I've seen people do them, but they don't normally have names, they're not usually called anything. But my first and favorite sound of all time is this one. Yeah. I actually had to watch a video for 3 hours straight, just rewinding this like 2 or 3 second period of somebody going. And when I got it, I scared myself because I didn't think I could do it. Another sound is very similar. You use your lips and tighten them or loosen them to get a different pitch. Third sound, also very similar, gets a really deep, bassy sound. So whenever you're doing dubstep, you always want to have a really nice bass. So usually when you're beatboxing dubstep, when there's something called dropping the bass, which is a build-up, and then usually a break, and it goes into a beat, you have a pause at the top of the build-up, and somebody would say something. So now the artist or the beatboxer who's doing this changes their voice usually. And beatboxing, I've learned to change my voice in a few different ways. I can suck in and talk like this and change my voice. And I can also talk like this. Or I can talk real high, but it sounds kind of weird. So I'm going to show you what dropping the bass would sound like. Drop it. Dubstep beatboxing, it's not only those sounds, because you still do need the acoustic sounds underlying. The third category of beatboxing is called speed beatboxing. Now, speed beatboxing is incredibly difficult because it takes a lot of articulative power while in your mouth, because you have to get really fast successive notes. I think the fastest I ever got was 64th notes. And for people who read music know that that's pretty fast. But when you get to something like the pro circuit, they get up to 128 notes and beyond. So I'm going to show you a little bit of speed beatboxing. It's not my strongest category of it, but I'm going to show you a little bit of it. See, now there are people that can do it a lot louder than I can, a lot faster than I can, mainly because they practice it 24/7. I focus more on dubstep and acoustic beatboxing because it's so much fun to do, and especially when I get reactions like the ones that this crowd has shown me, it lights my face up. So outside of those three categories, there are different sounds that you can make just that are fun. I showed you my zipper sound. And that's a lot of fun to do when you're counseling small children, like for CITing or counseling training. You'll go down and zip up their coat, they'll be like, "You didn't do anything." But I heard it. Also, within things like a cappella, you can hear people try to mimic sounds of other instruments, like a trumpet. Not only can I get different pitches, but I can get different notes, different lengths. And it's a lot of fun to use. So now I bet you're sitting there thinking, how'd you get into that? Well, I'll tell you, concerned viewer. Ever since I was really little, when I was in kindergarten, my teachers would tell my parents that I'm making very interesting noises during circle time. I was very young at this age, and I think that even though I was young and I could make these sounds, that it's incredible. But I guess you couldn't classify what I was doing as beatboxing until 6th grade. So now in 6th grade, I had a teacher who absolutely 100% could not stand whistling. Now, being the musical child that I was, I whistled all of the time. I can actually do this thing called an overtone, where you hum and whistle at the same time. See, when I get to this class and I start whistling, she's like, no whistling in my class. So I sit there and I think to myself, well, gotta do something. So I started rhythmically clicking. And at this point I didn't know what beatboxing was, but finally when I get home, I researched rhythmic clicking, and this word kept popping up, beatboxing, beatboxing, beatboxing. Finally I clicked on a video called beatboxing. Within moments of watching this, I was astounded. I was at a loss for words. I had set a barrier in my mind of what was humanly possible. I couldn't comprehend this, but through watching more videos and keeping on beatboxing, I've developed this, in my opinion, great talent. And I hope that you in your lives will try to break through the barrier that you've set in your minds and redefine impossible. Thank you.